Hey, what's going on? It's Quinn David Furness. Welcome to my show. Quinn David Furness presents the Beantown podcast for Friday, October 7th, 2022. What's going on? How are you? It is fall, my friends. Autumnal season is here. Autumnal. It was 45 degrees this morning when I woke up. The windows were open. I was shivering. Shiver me timbers like Long John Silver's. My goodness, I had to close the windows, throw on a cool hat. If you're watching the live YouTube stream, come on in. Welcome. What's going on? It's good to see you. I've done two different streaming videos today. One this morning at about 8 a.m. I streamed some ragtime. And then another one right now, which you're watching live. I just haven't done that much. And I said, you know what? Let's connect with the fans. It's been way too long. Do we come to you live every week, the new Beantown podcast? Yes. Do you always get to see my smiling face? No. And so I said, let's give the fans what they want. So thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Hello to my friends in Pakistan, Hyderabad, Karachi, Khyber Pass, what's happening? Islamabad, Hyderabad might be in India. I don't know. We got to research that. Wordle today, if you haven't played it yet, you're going to want to play it. It's a pretty straightforward one. It's one of the largest countries in the Middle East. The largest country, in fact, after maybe Iran. I don't know which one is larger. I ran so far away. Flock of seagulls. Saw them at Summerfest. That's one of those things where I'm going to be 85 years old. And no one is going to have any clue anymore who Flock of Seagulls was. And every 5 years, that song will come up on a radio, or I don't know if we'll have radios, in the year 2070, but someone will say, what the hell is this? And I'll say, Flock of Seagulls. And I'll be able to say, I saw them live at Summerfest 40 years past their prime. And we did. Rachel and I saw them live at Summerfest. We were like 7 shandies in, but you still saw them. It's okay. In the vein of curse words here, thank you to our intro music, The Entertainer, played by yours truly, written by Scott Joplin, which is what we were playing this morning on our live stream. If you missed it, go to our Instagram, q.queend, and check it out. Listener discretion is advised when you're listening to this show. Number one, we'll occasionally use some profane language. Speaking of profane, that was used in a Jeopardy clue yesterday, and don't let me forget, I gotta watch for today. I've been kind of like a day behind lately. Rachel's been not very, but like somewhat interested. Maybe because the guy who keeps winning is Holzhauer-esque, and she really hates him, but she's been somewhat interested. Rachel, if you're listening to this, love you, babe. In watching Jeopardy lately, which is great, because I don't know, it's just like it's 20 minutes, like I don't know. I think it's fun. You guess questions. Sometimes you're right. Sometimes you're wrong, and that's okay. But we've been able to watch it together a couple nights this week since I got back from my work trip. And I don't know. I just think it's fun. So that's number one. Number two, this podcast is objectively terrible. Today, if you didn't know yet by the title, we are going to be listing our top 10 songs about work. W-O-R-K, not the woke W-E-R-K spelling. We're gonna go old school. And our show is also unofficially sponsored by Howling Gourds Pumpkin Ale, 24 IBU, 7% alcohol by volume, brewed and bottled by Joseph's Brow Brewing Company. I got a hair coming out of the Samson Q2U series. That's pretty embarrassing. It's a long hair. It's dark. I tell you what, that's not my hair. I don't know anything about that. But San Jose, California, they shipped it all the way to Trader Joe's. I was at Trader Joe's on Wednesday night after work, and I very, very infrequently will I buy beer, just straight up. That's just not something I do a lot of. I just don't drink that much beer at home, frankly. If it's, just kind of a casual Friday night like this, I'm typically having a bottle of wine with Rachel. Otherwise, summer, good vibes. I'm throwing down like some surges from White Claw, or just my whiskey, which I've got. I feel like a George Thorogood song here. I got one bourbon. I don't have a Scotch, but I do have one beer, which is our Howling Gourds Pumpkin Ale. So I'm 2/3 of the way there. But I was at Trader Joe's and I went to the new one We live in between two Trader Joe's right now. So there's the classic one, Lincoln Park Trader Joe's at Clark and Diversey, and then there's this new age one here at kind of by the Addison Brown line stop, Lincoln and Waveland, if you will. And I've been going there recently because just frankly, it's a little bit easier to navigate. It's much less crowded. I can walk there, I can bus there, I can train there. So it's just kind of whatever I'm feeling that day. So I was there on Wednesday night after work. I got back from my road trip Tuesday night, and I was there Wednesday night. I was thinking, you know what? I want a fun fall beer. And knowing I'm going to make this purchase like once or twice this entire season, I had bought the Sam Adams like combo pack, if you will. It's been like three weeks probably. So I have to go back and look, but I think there's like an Oktoberfest, a fest beer, probably a pumpkin ale, and probably something else. And I still have maybe half of that left. So there's maybe 5 or 6 beers in the fridge. But I was like, you know what? I'm here. Let's top it off. Mostly because I had room in my backpack to accommodate. And so I got this pumpkin ale, the Howling Gourds pumpkin ale. What I was really on the lookout for was the Saugatuck Brewing peanut butter porter, which I bought this time last year from the Trader Joe's down in Lincoln Park. And that stuff is delicious. What was crazy about that was I had bought the peanut butter porter just on a whim. And I don't buy a lot of beer, especially craft beer. As much as I love craft beer, I literally came back. Well, side note here, literally came back from a brewery half an hour ago. I've got kind of an unexpectedly free Friday night. Usually Friday night, Rachel and I cook supper, share a bottle of wine, watch some TV or a movie, go to bed. It's good stuff. I'm flying solo this Friday night, so I was like, and usually my Fridays are pretty chill with work. I'm not doing that much, frankly. Today was not that way. Not that it was hard, but I had, I think, 8 Zoom calls today, and I don't have to get into all that stuff. But basically, I was just sitting there in front of my computer for about 8:30 until 3, just dying, just like didn't have to think very hard, but just physically had to be there, which is it's rough on a Friday. So after that, I went on the bike for 45 minutes. Caught the end of that amazing Cardinals-Phillies game. Game one of the, I guess we're calling it the wild card round now. I don't know. Baseball playoffs have gotten so expansive. When I was a kid, and I know I'm coming in halfway to this conversation, but when I was a kid, it was 3 division winners and 1 wild card, and it was very cutthroat. Now, and they've changed, Manfred has changed it a lot in the last couple of years with the pandemic and stuff, but even before then, for a while they had the wild card game, which frankly I loved because you get your 3 division winners and you get 2 wild card teams and you got to battle it out. 1 game, winner takes all. Winner goes to the ALDS against the top seeded team. And, that's what the Cubs did in 2015. They played the Pirates in PNC Park. People think of the Cubs, in that era as this juggernaut, but they were really only like the hot team for 1 year. 2015, they were this just kind of up and coming, wild card team, second place wild card team. The Pirates were ahead of them. The Cardinals won the division. Cubs were relying on the likes of that was Jake Arrieta's Cy Young season. Starlin Castro was an important part of our history. I think most people out there have forgotten that Starlin Castro ever existed, but he was still like in the core in 2015, which is hard to believe. I got really far deep into this rabbit hole. Oh, MLB playoffs. I was on the bike after my Zoom calls ended. I saw the Cardinals lose in shocking fashion. They dominated this game. They were up 2-0 on the Phillies going into the 9th. And they proceeded to give up 6 runs. And I watched the whole thing unfold. I always get my channels lined up when I'm on the exercise bike next door, where I've got, usually a sports game and then Food Network if it's going to be like diners, drive-ins, and dives, and then maybe Shark Tank or something. So today I had Shark Tank on National Geo lined up, and then there were 2 playoff games going on. The earlier game was the Cardinals and Phillies, which I've been talking about. The later game was the Mariners and Blue Jays in Toronto, and the Mariners shut out the Jays, actually, which is surprising and very disappointing for the Jays. They'll have another chance, 2 chances to win that series. But I loved the wild card game. It existed for maybe 5 years, I suppose, and it was just great. Like a 1-game playoff. The other thing the MLB did away with, and they have their reasons, and I'm not informed or educated enough to be able to say, oh, this is stupid or this is amazing. They got rid of my GarageBand cut out, and I don't even care to go back and get it exactly right. So I'm just going to jump back into the baseball conversation. F you, GarageBand. Been with you for 247 episodes or whatever, and you're still giving me crap. What I'm trying to say is the other thing the MLB did away with, not just the wild card game no longer exists because now they have 3 wild card teams, but they also got rid of the game 163, the tiebreaker. So if you tie for the division at the end of 162 regular season games, rather than play a winner-take-all game, and then the loser presumably in years past would go play the wild card game, which I thought was amazing. Like you get 2 shots to get in. They did away with the game 163. Now it's just tiebreakers, which is just frankly really boring. And I think the MLB kind of their chickens came home to roost this year on game 162, the final day of the season, which was this past Wednesday, October 5th. There were no games that mattered. And I'm not just talking about like playoff spots, but literally playoff seeding. Nothing came down to game 162. So they really like to hype up game 162. They'll do it where they start all the games at the same time. And they got totally boned this year, which is fine with me. I'm not an MLB fan from a gigantic organizational perspective. In fact, I sent out a bitchin' tweet earlier that I think is up to like at least half a like, if not 1 like, where I was watching that Phillies Cardinals game on a treadmill, and we were literally 30 to 33 seconds in between pitches in the later innings. And I know that's not new. It's not my first baseball game, but there's just so much emphasis right now on speed of play and making baseball more watchable. And I suppose, MLB knows what they're doing by getting rid of the wild card game and expanding the wild card teams from 2 to 3. You get more fan bases involved, more markets involved. Like, okay, I get it. But it also means so we're going to do 3 games, two or 3 games in this first round, I guess what they're calling the wild card round. And then I think it's still best of 5 in the division round, but frankly, I have no idea. I'm very unplugged from all of this stuff. And then you get best of 7 in the championship round, and then you get another best of 7 in the World Series. And we didn't even start this stuff. Today was the first day, October 7th. I remember when the Cubs won the World Series, I think it was November 3rd maybe, and it felt extremely late. And now the World Series could go till like Thanksgiving. We're going to have to choose between the World Cup or the World Series, only one of which features international teams. The World Cup is a whole other Pandora's box here on the Beantown podcast. We've existed for 1 World Cup before, 2018, which would have been right smack dab in the middle of my Baltimore tenure. And if I recall correctly, 2018 was a Cinderella run by Czechia, only to be grounded and eventually defeated by France in the 2018 World Cup final. Did not check any of that. Let's go to Google and confirm. So what was my prediction? France over Czechia. You asked for a score. I'm going to say 3-1. I really have no idea. I think I watched that final in a hotel room. They must have been somewhere, let's see, where were they? I think in Europe, maybe, because it was about 6 hours ahead. Russia. I'm going to call that Europe. I remember watching it in a hotel room, I think in Philadelphia, perhaps. But I'm pretty sure Czechia had like a Cinderella run. Let's see. We're on Wikipedia here. The final. Okay, France 4-2 over. Oh, shoot. Croatia, not Czechia. That's embarrassing. I had the C right. And there's probably soccer fans out there who have been calling for my head the last 60 seconds. I do apologize. I'm about 4 drinks in here. It was 4-2 the final drink. speaking of four drinks in, I mentioned this, but I went to a brewery and it was called Burning Bush Brewery. It's at Rockwell in Irving Park, just north of Irving Park. They're right by just half a mile north of Lane Tech Prep, and it's a fun little microbrew. But and this isn't, I shouldn't say, but it was a nice time. What really surprised me was, excuse me, the whole thing was just flooded by parents and toddlers, anywhere from like 6 months to 2 years. No newborns and no one that was clearly older than about 2 years old. It was the exclusive spot for that. I don't know if they have a Facebook group organized or just a weekly hang. And it didn't, it was no skin off my back, but I was just shocked. I mean, I understand you get into these more like trendy, 30 something neighborhoods, like that's bound to happen. But there were just so many of them. There had to have been at least 15 toddlers in this brew hall and, no more than 50 adults, including myself. And so I'm just not used to that. Like I don't remember what day we recorded last week. I think maybe Saturday or Friday. But we went to two different breweries last week in Minneapolis. Surly Brew Hall, which I think we mentioned. But then the second one I went to was Fulton Brewery, which is what I understand to be a very like old, classic, quintessential Minneapolis experience. Both were amazing. Neither one did I see kids. So I don't know. Maybe it was because it's a Friday night. I don't know. But I had a great time. I'm not usually a huge like beer drinker, just generally, not because I don't like beer, but because I don't know. I'm just like I guess for me, I guess what it comes down to is like I've been spending a lot more time by myself in the last 2 weeks, and a brewery is one of those things where you can like go, you can bring your book, you just have a good time. You get to try new things, taste new things, and do a little bit of people watching, checking on your phone, tweak your fantasy lineup. Like it's a good time. And so I just, with the pandemic and not traveling much for work, I just haven't gotten much of that. And in the last 2 weeks, it's just popped up a little bit. So, yeah, I've been trying some new things, but all the beers I've had have been good, man. I haven't been taking any big risks, but the Fulton ones I had, let's pull up Fulton. I'll give a list to you. And I promise for those of you who tuned in for our top 10 work songs, we are getting there before very long. And I had one other story I wanted to tell you. But then the three I had at Burning Bush, a very, Exodus themed beer or brewery today. So I'll give you Burning Bush first because that's the first link that popped up. So I started with Smooth Serpent, which is an IPA, 7.5%. It packs a punch, a refreshing blend of citrus notes and hop bitterness. This IPA has a smooth but sneaky hoppy bite. To remind you of anyone? So I started with that. Second, I went to Lion's Den, 7.1% ABV hazy IPA. This delicious hazy IPA is packed full of tropical, pineapple, and citrus notes, kind of like the Dole Pineapple Plantation. Every once in a while, in the last like 2 weeks, I just kind of have an out-of-body experience and remember that Rachel and I like went to Oahu, planned out the whole thing, had a great time, nailed it, got back safe and sound. Like we fucking killed that vacation, man. Apologies for my language, but I mean, I'm someone who likes to travel, and I think Rachel likes traveling too. I have more experience than she does, but at the end of the day, we were just like going out there and who knows what's going to happen. And we ended up like nailing it. I'm really proud of us. It might sound really stupid, but like you try to go to, Hawaii for a week and like do amazing things every day and stay under budget and like get drunk. I don't know. It's harder than it sounds. Finally, I finish up with a pumpkin spice ale, which doesn't have a description yet, but its subtitle is a pumpkin/yam beer. Yams were sweet potatoes. There's a whole other discussion or debate for you. I'm not going to get into that today. It's more of a Thanksgiving episode. So last Sunday was, I'm just going to give a brief rundown of this, I promise, and we're going to hear from our ads, and then we're going to go into there's another very quick story I got to tell you. It's going to be a long episode, perhaps. and then our top 10 work songs, because I've been working a lot lately. So last Sunday was there's a lot. It was action packed. I picked the perfect Sunday to go to Minneapolis. I was there for a conference, and I got to visit with grandmother and grandfather of the podcast, Sally and Dave Furness, who've both been on the show, believe it or not, back in season 1. And so I got to go down to Albert Lee Saturday, help them out with some stuff. Walked halfway around Lake Chapeau. If you don't know about carp hunting, go YouTube search carp hunting furnace. You'll find it. iMovie at its best. Shout out to Walter Furnace for putting that together. However, I had to get back to the Twin Cities Saturday night because Sunday morning was the start of the Twin Cities Marathon. 2-3 blocks from my hotel, so I had to check it out. It was a good time. And then after that, I'm like, hey, Vikings in London. This is a huge thing. Vikings had played in London once before, I think. But we're playing like bitter rivals, the Saints, who, okay, let's be real. Like 13 years after Bountygate, is it quite as intense as, Sean Payton and Favre and Breeze? Like, no, but you go to the fan base, we still, myself included, absolutely hate the Saints. I have there's nothing in me that's like, oh, well, it's been long enough, like a new coach. Like, no, you guys suck, and you really didn't show any remorse for it. I mean, just paying at an organizational, institutional level, paying human beings to try to hurt other human beings is like, there's nothing in me that is like, oh, well, I get it from this perspective. Like, no, that's just really terrible. And I've shared that with people, and they're like, well, what if it was the other way around? Frankly, if there was some scandal where the Vikings got caught doing that, I would not hesitate to be like, okay, let me like become a Bears fan now. I wouldn't feel bad about that. The urge within me to want everyone to treat everyone else with like love and respect and kindness is way stronger than the fact that my dad is from Minnesota and told me to be a Vikings fan. Like, it's really, really simple. Anyways, they were playing the Saints. I was severely disappointed. I loved my time in Minnesota, but one thing that really I just couldn't figure out. And if there's anyone listening here from the Twin Cities or familiar with the Twin Cities area and Vikings bars, please do send us a message, because it's not going to be the last time I'm in Minneapolis for work, or the Twin Cities for work. Send us a message. Beantown Podcast at yahoo.com. Again, it's Beantown, Beantown Podcast at yahoo.com, or visit us on Twitter at BeantownCast. I could not for the life of me, and this is, I think, 99% because it was an 8:30 a.m. Central Time game in London. I could not find a bar or any sort of establishment that was open. Downtown Minneapolis, like a lot of large U.S. cities, or I think large cities in general, probably, the downtown area is very much a business, financial, legal kind of center of the city. There's not very many people who live there, and understandably for businesses, there's not going to be a lot of businesses that are open that early. But I really thought that, like, literally being half a mile from US Bank Stadium, where the Vikings call home, you would have one or two bars at the very least in the kind of central downtown area that were like all in on, dude, it's 8:30, it's London, which was a big deal. The NFL was really hyping it up, and I was excited for it. I'm very thankful that they won, because I would have been really sad the rest of the day if they lost. But I couldn't believe that there were no bars. And I'm sure there were, if you went out a little bit from downtown, and like, obviously there were bars in the Twin Cities area that were showing this game, but there was nothing. I literally walked up and down all the blocks. This wasn't like a spontaneous thing. I had been researching. Google search best bar in downtown Minneapolis to watch the Minnesota Vikings game, and I got these 10 results. So I'm like, let's check out this one, closed. Let's check out this one. Oh, now it's a Packers bar. Stupid 8th Street girl, I got my eye on you. Let's check out this one, like demolished by something else. Just I don't know. It was mind-boggling to me. I recognize that Chicago is whatever, like 7 times larger than Minneapolis, but I feel like if I stayed at a hotel in downtown Chicago, if the Bears are playing in London and the game started at 8:30 a.m. Chicago time, I could find a bar in downtown Chicago. Do I know off the top of my head? No, but I could find something. I don't know. It was just kind of frustrating. What ended up happening, I went back to my hotel room at like 8:45 in the morning. I've been already been up for 3 hours at this point because I woke up and worked out. So I drank some beer, joined family chat, copyright, and watched the Vikings game. Eventually they won. So all's well that ends well. The end of the story I'm trying to tell is eventually I went to Fulton Brewing. I had 3 beers, and gosh, it literally feels like 10 minutes. It's probably been like 7 or 8 since we told you the beers I had today at Burning Bush, which reminds me of our Exodus episode, which we do every Easter. That's honestly one of my pride and joys. Whatever format we deliver it to you, being able to talk about the Israelites and the Egyptians and the pharaohs and the let my peoples go and the 10 plagues, that is a highlight every year for me. I don't have a lot of things in my life where I have like very much in-depth specific knowledge. The Bible is one of them, although not everything, but more than the average person. Uh, music is another one, sports another one, but that's pretty much it for me. Not technology, not science, not history, not Yankee candles. So that's a fun show. Okay, Fulton Brewing. I have no idea if I'm going to be able to remember. Basically, I went there and I went there after the noon games ended. So I'd watched the Vikings game, I had watched the noon games, and then there's like 3 or 4 3 p.m. games Central Time. And I was like, I'm not gonna just sit in my hotel room and watch all these games back to back to back. I want to go out. I want to experience something. So let's go to a brewery. It was 20-minute walk from my hotel room. I said, okay, let's do it. And in classic Quinn fashion, I get there and eventually, not right when I got there, but eventually trivia starts. I've never heard of a place running trivia on a Sunday night. This was not planned. I didn't actually participate. In fact, I heard that they were starting trivia. Essentially, this place, I'm sitting outside on a patio. I hear they're starting trivia. It's inside, so I go inside. I grab a table. So it's like I can either stay outside by myself and like watch a game on my phone and drink my beer and read my book, or I can go inside and like play trivia and still watch the game and still drink my beer. So I'm like, let me go inside. And the lady, granted, I never approached the trivia host for like a sheet or anything, but I came in during the first round of questions and was never like approached about, hey, do you want to play? So I just played internally and I would not have done well. I probably, out of 8 teams, I probably would have gotten 4th or 5th. Like, knew my fair share of questions, but was not anywhere close to contending. So I did that. I watched the Packers-Patriots game, which was not sexy. None of those 3 p.m. games were. The Packers won in overtime against a third-string quarterback from Western Kentucky, Bailey Zapp, Z-A-P-P-E-Z, as the British would say. But while I was there, I drank a lot. I had a beer in the morning during the Vikings game, then a beer in the afternoon, and then 3 beers at this brewery. And that was all in the back of a coffee and a bagel from Caribou Coffee at about 7:45 in the morning. So I was feeling it, which was fine. I was happy to feel it. But what did I actually have from Fulton? And I thought I was going to be able to remember, but I'm looking at this list right now and I'm like, I don't know any of these beers. So I really thought I was going to be able to give you a recommendation about or for going to Fulton Brewing. I'm honestly looking at all of these drinks and I'm like, none of these names sound familiar to me at all. I feel like I'm going crazy. Usually I can look at a, tap list or tap room list and be like, oh yeah, I've had this, I've had that. Like, that was good. No, that was just okay. I just looked at the list that they have on their website right now, and I'm quite honestly saying I've never heard of any of these. This was literally last Sunday, 5 days ago. I have no recollection of saying any of these as I ordered. The year rounds Lonely Blonde 300. I think I had a 300. I've never seen 300, but I think I had a 300. So let's put a whatever in that one. Moon Howler, a hazy IPA, maybe. It's kind of spooky. Sweet Child of Vine, a little Axl Rose action. There's some Spritz craft cocktails. No, I just want beer. Northern Standard. Sounds like something I would like, but I don't know. We are really deep in here on Fulton Brewing. Anyways, I had a good time. They have a nice outdoor patio, a nice indoor space as well. I promise you won't be disappointed. So don't let my very neutral recommendation turn you off in any way. I loved it. Even though the Packers won, I loved it. So that's what we got for you. All right, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. And then I'm going to tell a very short story, and then we're going to actually talk about our top 10 work songs. If you can believe it, that's hard to believe. It's 8:08 p.m. I haven't had dinner yet. I had a bagel at about 7:30 this morning. That's it for eating today. And I'm very hungry. But time is just kind of slipping, which is okay, because I'm having a good time. I'm talking to the fans. I'm on the YouTube stream. Hello to YouTube. Hello to Pakistan. But just kind of, I don't know. Today was like working more than I'm used to on a Friday. And it's a very spoiled thing to be able to say. But I worked all that. Then I walked 2 miles to this brewery, about 45 minutes. Was there for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. And then, rode the bus back and stuff. And all of a sudden it's like 8:10 p.m. And I haven't eaten yet. And it's just like, we got one thing after another we got to try to accomplish here. So let's very quickly say thank you to Home Pride Oregon. If you need your home inspected in Central Oregon, you got to trust the experts. Call Steve at 541-410-0316. Again, that's 541-410, maybe 54 something. 541-410, maybe. I don't know. Here's what you guys should do. Go to homeprideoregon.com. That's right. I think it's 541-410-0316, but I don't have my phone in front of me. It's over here charging. And I have my notes in here for our top 10 list, which we're going to utilize in a second. Hard to believe we made it to minute 34 without actually checking the list, which is the subject of today's show. But that's how it goes sometimes, especially when I've been drinking. When you need your home inspected, call the experts. They do a double insurance, plumbing, heating, cooling, and roofing. My dad, his name is Steve. He'll get you taken care of. And I was talking to good friends of the show, been on before, Ryan, Austin Ligon, and Kristen English. I was at their house Monday night. Their brand new house is beautiful. Their dog, their cats, all that good stuff. They said, we were looking at houses, but some of them were like, we're going to accept the bids without, or while waiving the home inspection requirement. And I was like, dude, good on you guys for holding firm. You want that home inspection. A guy like Steve is going to come in there. He's going to say, this is good. This is bad. Do this. Don't do that. You need to fix this. That's going to save you thousands of dollars. I'm not joking. Call the experts. Home Pride Oregon, 541-410-0316, or visit homeprideoregon.com. Home Pride Oregon, inspection perfection. I also want to say thank you to our good friends, the Samson Q2U series. We talked about Exodus a little bit earlier in the show, but here's all you really need to know. When God speaks, he uses Samson from Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, and don't forget Esther, the Israeli queen. She was probably a babe, but we don't really know. When God speaks, he uses a Samson. And of course, Cuts by Q. When you need a fresh juice, something snappy and new, whether you're in Northwest Indiana, Chicago, the greater Chicagoland area, frankly, if we're being real, I go up to Saugatuck, I'll go up to Milwaukee. I'm happy to travel. Uh, when you need a fresh juice, something snappy and new, call the experts at Cuts by Q. All right. We're going to tell a quick story, a precautionary tale, PRECAUTIONARY. Boom! I was cooking soup on Wednesday night. I had gotten back Tuesday from a very long road trip, which you all are very familiar with at this point. And I was just like in the mood. I mean, I had been eating so. Look, I was gone for 8 days, okay? I had a lot of McDonald's. In fact, last Tuesday, this is 10 days ago already, I was driving from Chicago to Indianapolis, and I stopped, halfway between Chicago and Indy. I was driving in Bloomington, actually. I stopped halfway for breakfast and coffee. I had not had any coffee. It's like 6:30 a.m. I'm like, let's get some breakfast. Let's get some coffee. I stop. I walk in because I needed to stretch my legs. My knees do not do well in the car these days. And I was doing the online order on the not an online order, but like I was ordering at the kiosk, so not with a real person inside the store. And it was very confusing, completely perplexing, if you will. And I ended up with 4 sausage McMuffins. And I'm gonna pull back the curtain here and be completely real with you guys. I had all 4 sausage McMuffins, and now we're saying like, oh, that's bad. Like, don't do that. It's a ton of sodium. 100% agree with you. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, it's not that bad. Like, no, that was shitty. But that's what I bought because of the confusion with the kiosk. To let you know there was some sort of buy one get one deal, and just the way things were displayed on the kiosk was not clear. And we're talking a matter of $1 or $2 here on the work card, so there's no financial implications to this really. But yeah, I had 4, and then I didn't have anything again until dinner with our fantasy football expert Hunter Bolin, a friend of the show, who hosted me. That was one good thing about this road trip. There were some good things, but I got to have dinner with Hunter and have sleep at his house on his couch, and got to see Grandma and Grandpa, grandparents of the podcast, and then good friends of the show, Ryan and Kristen. Like, get to see all 3 of them on one trip. That's amazing. But the point I was trying to make is, yeah, I ate really shitty. Like, a lot of carry out. That Sunday after I went to the brewery, I had so much Indian food, I just about exploded. Samosas, chicken, either tikka or marsala, I don't remember. And then naan, Naan. You might not think of Indian food when you think of downtown Minneapolis. I think of there's no place open except for like 3 spots. And one of them is Indian, so let me have it. And I did. And it was amazing. I ate so much. It was awesome. The very original point I was trying to make is that I ate unhealthily. And so Wednesday night, my first day back to the office in a while, I was grocery shopping after work at the Trader Joe's, where I bought this Howling Gourds beer. And I was just like, you know what I really want? I think I was inspired by the Indian food Sunday night, where I had just a shit ton of rice and chicken and just sauce. I was like, you know what? I don't need anything fancy. I don't need anything crazy high in sodium. I just want and I'm going to use the term again, and I apologize for my language, but it's the only way I can convey it. A shit ton of like rice and chicken and broth and veggies. Like, just give me all of that stuff. And so I literally made a DIY soup and chicken. It's just 2 cups of brown rice, uncooked, brown, 2 cups uncooked. So like, 3.5 cups cooked, whatever. But then the soup is just chicken broth, butter, cream, onions, celery, other stuff I'm forgetting. What are the 3 main veggies? We have onion in there. We have celery. There's peas, frozen peas. There's no pepper. There's another main. It's like 3 main veggies. I'm really upset that I am, forgetting this. Onions, celeries, carrots, of course. Good for my eyesight, my carotene levels. So we got onions, celery, carrots, frozen peas, half and half, chicken broth, thyme, THYME, salt, pepper, parsley. It's quite honestly the simplest recipe you can make. Chicken with vegetables and rice, basically. And I was just like, I had not cooked in a long time. The week prior to this last one, so this road trip took up 2 weeks essentially. I left on a Tuesday morning at like 4 a.m. I came back on this past Tuesday at like 7 p.m. So that's what happened this last week, and that's what I was doing the week before. The week before that, this all feels like it happened the last 2 weeks, but it's almost been a month. Week before that, I was in Toronto. Week before that, I was in Kansas City. So, and these aren't long trips like this last one, but just long enough to kind of disrupt your routine. Like I have not had a routine lunch since maybe July, if not like May. It's been a long time because there's just been a lot of different things going on. Not really in a bad way, although I've had more 7-Eleven sandwiches than I care to admit. They call it the Italian job. You have your sandwich roll, the bread, and probably 2 different kinds of meat, ham, and I'm going to guess Genoa salami, maybe pastrami, and then a mayonnaise-based something, unclear. And then what really brings it together are the banana peppers. I don't know about this. I'm not a nutritionist. I need a friend of the show, Molly Morello, on here. Rachel's former roommate. Good friend, very kind person. She's a nutritionist. Banana peppers, are they going to give you that zing you're looking for, Z-I-N-G? Because whatever 7-Eleven puts on these, it got a zing. I don't think they're banana peppers. Here's what I think they are. When you order a Papa John's pizza, what are the little, what are those called? Those little green things. Little green, we're doing a Google search for those of you listening, not YouTube searching, little green peppers. I want to say jardinera. That's absolutely not right. I know what jardinera is. And this is terrible because I'm going to be like listening tomorrow and I'll be like, obviously it was this. But you get it. You get it from like Papa John's when you order a pizza. It's not a jalapeno. It's not a serrano. It's okay. Let's Google. I do apologize for those of you who figured this out, months ago. But I want to get this right. Okay. Insider.com from 2017. There's a heartwarming reason we're so behind. We got 36% left. Why every Papa John's comes with a pepper from 2017. Pepperoncino. Pepperoncino. Pepperoncini, maybe. Kind of the same thing. It's in America. No, that's salami. Pepperoncino is what I want. Pepper. Who would have thought we could go on a 10-minute tangent on peppers? I did, but I've been hosting this show for almost 5 years. So, okay, Pepperoncino. This is a learning moment. You come to the Beantown podcast to be entertained, but also, honestly, what I really want, like, if we're being completely real for 10 seconds, I would love it if you came to the show and you learned something new alongside me each week. And if you learn something new each week, then you've learned, if you've been listening from the beginning, you've learned 250 new things. And the fact that I've been able to bring that into your home, your car, your earbuds, whatever, I think that's pretty neat. If not, that's okay too. Pepperoncino is a generic Italian name for hot chili peppers, specifically some regional cultivars of the species, whatever, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. I still remember that. Like most peppers, the fruit is green or yellowish when young, and ripens to a red color. Okay, so they, we would always have them with Papa John's. They'd always be green, so I guess they would be young. Young green pepperoncinos. I don't remember why we got on that tangent in the first place, but we did. I can't change that. But we're also at 47 minutes. This is the ultimate. Quinn had some drinks, and we're going to start recording podcasts. And there was something we were supposed to get to. And so maybe this deserves more time. Maybe it doesn't. I think in an ideal world, we would, dive deep into this top 10 list with our special mentions and stuff. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to give it to you raw, RAW, and you can take it or leave it. Because it's not our sexiest top 10 list. It's not our most exciting, double burp power rankings. And we haven't even talked about the Chicago Marathon. That just popped in my head. I'll mention that here before I forget. And then I promise we're getting into our top 10 list, and then we're going to end. Because 1, we're at 33%. 2, I have to pee so bad. 3, but if I was just recording, I would go pee and I would come back. But we're on YouTube live. That'd be embarrassing. 3, I'm so hungry. It's 8:22 p.m. I had a bagel this morning, and that's it. I'm struggling right now. But I did want to mention the Chicago Marathon 2022 is in about 36 hours here. And I've only spectated the marathon like once, maybe twice. I'm pumped because the first time I spectated, my brothers ran it. #Brothers, the podcast, Walt Furnace and Jack Furnace. And it was a fun thing to do. And I was in college, so I wasn't like super young or anything, but like probably a freshman. And I was just kind of like, oh, this is cool. But now as someone who's run it twice before and just, feels very connected to it, I'm really excited to just like go see it and like cheer people on. And I'm going to go see the, the front runners and stuff. I encourage you to do the same. And I told my class that last night too, like, go see it. This is like a major cultural thing. This isn't just like, oh yeah, this is our city's our city's marathon. Like, this is one of the top marathons in the world. I do encourage you to go check it out. Okay, you saw it from the title of this show. If you're listening, if you're on YouTube, welcome. These are the top 10 plus honorable mention songs about work. And I know it took us 50 minutes to get here, but we've just been working a lot. I've been working a lot. I was on the road for the last 8 days, and then I came back for a couple of days, and now I'm here. Rachel's gone. She's not here. You can look around the room on YouTube. She's not present. She's at at her parents' house in the suburbs, watching, I don't know, Handmaid's Tale or Bachelor in Paradise. I'm not sure, but hopefully I'm having a good time. She's not here. She was working a very long day in the suburbs. Someone's got to support this family. So I thought, earlier today I was not writing, I was literally sitting here looking at Zoom, and I was like, what can we do a show about that people are going to relate to? And I said, we do power rankings all the time. They tend to be slightly more consequential. CONSEQUENTIAL, I think. Someone can check me later after I sobered up and stuff. Consequential. But I was like, let's talk about the 10 most important songs about work. So here's we're gonna blitzkrieg through this. In an ideal world, this would be the focus of the episode, but really it's coming at the end, and it's just gonna be the way it was. Hashtag Harry Styles. I don't know if he played tonight. Actually, no, he didn't. There's a Bulls game tonight at home versus the Nuggets, and I almost went. The reason I mentioned Harry Styles is because he was supposed to play last night at the United Center. He's playing like 5 shows. He postponed it due to illness. And Rachel is supposed to go on Sunday night with her sisters. And knock on wood, hopefully they're still going. But I have no idea. And I was weighing my options of things to do tonight. The Bulls versus Nuggets preseason basketball is like a $20 ticket. I was like, maybe I'll go to this. I don't know. I don't care. But then I was like, let me stay slightly closer to home and actually like go see or experience something that's actually new to me. Because going to see the Bulls at the United Center for preseason would be fun. I would have a good time even by myself, honestly. But it was just like, you have to go all the way down there, take the Ashland bus, walk, come back late at night. And I was just like, I'd rather just like get this podcast and have some supper, not pay $20 for a beer or whatever. So that's how it worked out. And now we're here. But we're going to go very fast through this, I promise. So again, there are top 10 lists, the top 10 songs about work. Then we're going to end it at the hour mark. Before then, if earlier, because I have to pee so bad. So number 1, our honorable mentions. These are songs about work, the working man, the 9-to-5 grind, all that good stuff. Our honorable mentions, we have 3 of them. We have Money for Nothing by Dire Straits, which the fans of this show are very familiar with because they did an a cappella cover of it. One of my greatest achievements in Beantown Unplugged history. It's kind of I don't really know how to describe it. Kind of a not specific song, ubiquitous song. That's not the word. Ubiquitous does not mean that. But you can fill in the blanks. But I figured, it's close enough. Number 2, Taking Care of Business by Bachman Turner Overdrive. I just posted on my Instagram story about 2 hours ago about Michelle Bachman. If you had on your bingo card today for who's going to post on Instagram about Michelle Bachman, Quinn wins. So if I was an attorney, I could have a billboard that said Quinn wins. And frankly, I'm not going to be an attorney because I know exactly what law school is like. And I'm just like, yeah, fuck that. So apologies for the language, but that's completely how I feel. And you don't come to the Beantown podcast to get, hidden, veiled feelings. You come to get raw, firsthand experience. And that's 100% what I'm going to give you. Chain Gang. Who is that by? Chain Gang by the guy who sings in Animal Farm. Is that right? Sam Cooke. Is that his name? Chain Gang. That's our other honorable mention. If I did a good job of preparing for this show, it would have said, yeah, it's by this person. It is by Sam Cooke. So those are our honorable mentions. If you've never seen Animal Farm, go check it out. Okay, so top 10 list of songs about work chosen and cultivated specifically by yours truly. At number 10, we have Manic Monday by the is that by the Go-Go's? Frankly, I get the Go-Go's and the Bengals confused. And that's really because of a Michael Scott joke. The Bengals. It's by the Bengals. There's a joke in The Office, whatever season, where he makes a reference to "Our Lips Are Sealed," and he's like, "Oh yeah, great song by the Bengals," and that's actually by the Go-Go's. And it's funny; it has comedic value, but in turn, I always get those two bands mixed up, and I don't know enough about them to be like, "Oh yeah, this is obviously this one, this is that one." But speaking of collaborative bands, so there are two things I was considering doing tonight that did not happen. One was the aforementioned Bulls game. The other was at the Chicago Theater was the B-52's farewell concert featuring Casey and the Sunshine Band. And tickets for that were like $75. And I was for a hot second, about 10 a.m. this morning, I was like, oh, this might be interesting. But then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna know a quarter of the songs. It's gonna be fine. But to just go all the way downtown by myself is not gonna be a thing. So I did not go. And I'm gonna pause this for the audio listeners. I'll be right back. For YouTube, I gotta pee so bad. I'm coming right back. We're back. All right, let's finish this baby up. Promise we're about to finish. Okay, we're back. Dude, nature calls sometimes. We've been at this for an hour, which is hard to believe. Speaking of nature calls, I've never seen Ace Ventura. We just weren't shown it as kids, nor were we shown Ace Ventura 2 and Nature Calls, Ace Ventura Pet Detective, and Ace Ventura 2 Nature Calls. I don't blame my parents. I'm not upset about it. I probably will never see Ace Ventura. I don't know what happens in Ace Ventura other than obviously Pet Detective. Like, I get the concept. I understand Jim Carrey. I have no idea what actually happens in the movie. That's okay. Okay, so we said number 10, Manic Monday. Number 9, from Sheena Easton, 9 to 5, parentheses, Morning Train. My baby takes the morning train. He works from 9 to 5 all day. That's Morning Train, and it's featured in not one but 2 Seinfeld work sequences. The first one where Kramer gets a job with Lehman, Lehman, I believe, some sort of investment company. He stumbles upon it because he's in their office building. They're using the bathroom. He's washing his hands, and employees rush out there, say, "Oh man, Lehman is really upset this time," or something like that. And he goes in the conference room. Next thing you know, he's got a job. The second time is when George, played by the incomparable Jason Alexander, works for Play Now. And when he's first hired, he's, Sheena Easton's playing, and he's taking the he pretends that he's handicapped for one reason or another. And so he takes the chairlift up, and he's dancing with his cane and stuff, and everyone loves him. But Sheena Easton It's featured twice. Almost lazy, if you will, to be the same music featured twice in two different montages, but late in the show, but that's what it is. Okay, number 8, A Hard Day's Night. Guys, I'm just going to tell like it is. And you can rip me to shreds in the comments if you want. That's fine. I'm not a Beatles, like, live or die kind of guy. I'm not like, oh, if you don't like the Beatles, then you are just trash to me. I could take it or leave it. It's just an iconic song. It was the name of, I believe, their first film. That was a crazy thing about movie or music in older times. Like there were movies that were associated with it. It's just kind of weird. Hard Day's Night, Beatles. It was a thing. Number 7, I'm a big personal fan. Jim Croce and the Car Wash Blues. I've had the song on my iPod for the longest time. Shout out to hashtag mom of the podcast, Jane, for sending me her iPod Shuffle. I haven't used it for 2 years, but I still have it. It lives in my backpack and it's ready to go at any time. And one of the songs you could find on there would be Jim Croce's Car Wash Blues, about a man who is in prison and feels like he should be working a higher paying job, but he's down with the grunts working a car wash. Number 6, one of my favorite all-time songs, we have The Pretender by Jackson Browne. If you don't know The Pretender, I really do encourage you to go listen to it. It's good piano, great message, just a good song about working and getting old and just what are we doing here? I don't know. I love The Pretender. It's easily my favorite Jackson Browne song, and he's got a lot of amazing tunes, but that's just one that is just every time I listen to it, I can't help but feel very plugged in and connected to it, and I appreciate that about The Pretender. Number 5, we're going Donna Summer. She Works Hard for the Money. I'm going to be, I pull back all the curtains here. I wasn't that familiar with this song before I really researched it today. It's got the quintessential 80s bass line with, kind of like the organ synth going on. And it's exactly what you think the song is going to be. It's great for a music montage. It's Donna Summer. I mean, she works hard for the money. It was a song where I kind of knew what it was before I listened to it, but I couldn't tell you the last time I actually listened to that entire song. And so I actually listened to it, and I mean it's top billing. It's everything it deserves. So that's Donna Summer. She Works Hard for the Money. Number 4. Now we're getting down to it. We're going back to Seinfeld a little bit here, but again, the theme is work. Number 4, Morning Train by Sheena Easton. Wait, didn't we already do that? Oh gosh, this is embarrassing. All right, there's going to be a huge uproar because I misread my notes from 8 minutes ago. All right, if you made it this far, here's where my apologies come. And I don't know what's going to come of this, but here's what I'll say about this. This is just me being 4 drinks in. And that's as simple as it gets. Sheena Easton, Morning Train is the Seinfeld. There's 2, Kramer and Jason Alexander. And that's what I meant to say. And that's Morning Train. We know the song, yada, yada, yada. Number 9, I said 95. That's Dolly Parton, my friends. And this is no shade, no disrespect to Dolly. I love Dolly. And I'm a big fan of 9 to 5. And that's number 9 on our list. There's no disrespect to Dolly whatsoever. And hopefully there are no hard feelings. So whether you're Dolly Parton or Sheena Easton, doesn't really matter to me. You both made it to the top 10 list above Dire Straits and Sam Cooke So you're doing something right. That's the extent of my apology. Because it wasn't really neglecting anyone, it was just misreading something. I don't feel that bad about it. Okay, we are down to the nitty gritty here. We are at 321, which is good because I'm at 13% on the MacBook. And that's about all we can handle. Number 3, I'm going to get some shit for this, but this is just how I feel. Working Man by Rush. They call me the working man. I guess that's what I am. Alex Lifeson, sick guitar solo. Neil Peart on drums, rest in peace. And get it on the bass. What more could you ask for? It's a working man. It's Rush. It's Canada. 9 to 5. He's working. He's working that bass, but he's working our hearts too. I have nothing else to say. You could say, oh, well, you get nothing else to say. It should be number 1. Well, there's a lot of good songs about work. So Working Man, Rush, I love it. You could be number 1 in my heart. I had to make a list, and there were some tough choices. So that's number 1 for number 3 for me, rather. Number 2, we have an old throwback here. And I first learned about it because of the person who's responsible for number 1. There's a little tool, a little teaser for you. I don't know why I couldn't think of that word. Number 2, Working in the Coal Mine by Lee Dorsey. If you ever wanted to hear about really great, like, rhythmic syncopation, Lee Dorsey is where you wanted to go to. It's a great song. Hopefully you know it. If you don't, you're going to want to check it out. Working in a coal mine, down, working in a coal mine, no sit down. And of course, Huey Lewis covered it. It's a great tune. It's got really good syncopation. It's just an all-time classic. It's the ultimate like working man's theme song. And that's by Lee Dorsey. Go back to the 60s, check it out. You won't forget it. And then number 1, here we go, an hour and 7 minutes in. I mentioned Huey Lewis before, guys. I'm a big sucker for Huey Lewis. It's just the show. That's who we are. I love Huey. Is Working Man by Rush more impactful or Money for Nothing or whatever than what I chose as number 1? Maybe, but guys, this is my show. Number 1, Working for a Living by Huey Lewis and the News. It's a very kind of unassuming Huey Lewis song. Is it a bigger hit than, a lot of his deep cuts? Yeah, of course. Is it bigger than, Power of Love, I Want a New Drug, Hip to Be Square? Absolutely not. It's very much kind of in that halfway niche zone. And that's totally fine because it fits the bill of what we're going for. Working for a Living by Huey Lewis. How many songs are there with a kick-ass electric harmonica solo? Unless you're a big Weird Al fan, you're probably not going to find that in most places. And that's what you get out of Working for a Living. So that's our top 10 list. My phone is on the other side of the room because I had to go plug in my MacBook Pro. So I don't have the recap for you, but you all heard it here live. So I'm not going to be able to give you the exact top 10, but who did we hear that was in our top 10? You should listen to these songs if you don't know them. We have Working Man by Rush. We have Working in a Coal Mine by Lee Dorsey. We have Working for a Living by Huey Lewis and the News. We have 9 to 5 by Dolly Parton. We have Morning Train by Sheena Easton and a whole bunch of others. She Works Hard for the Money by Donna Summer. There's a lot of others I would encourage you to go check out. Special mention to Money for Nothing by Rush. And there's a lot of others that we already mentioned. I would encourage you to go listen to them. If you are ever feeling held up or pent up at work, definitely go check them out. All right, that's what I got for you. It's been an hour and 9 minutes. I am extremely hungry. It's 8:45 at night. I had a bagel this morning. I'm ready to have supper. Thanks everyone for listening. This was a lot. I really appreciate your time and your willingness to check out our show. All right. Most importantly, I hope you stay safe. I hope you stay sane. And I will check in on you next time. Bye, everyone. It's the end of the show.